of your second year, you start picking up a camera, you start shooting Stana. When is it when you start feeling like, okay, I've made the transition from photo to video now?
When I met Stana, I was now different, you know, like my idea of a technical approach was different. Scott's, yes, he's he's very hard in the streets, but Melo and Sleazy on the streets, bro.
And you had an incident with your camera where, you know, an artist left with it. Can you take us through that, Jake?
This bro, phila mnati. Ngithola but obviously ngi phila mnati, but ke sponsor ka ke ire jwang like that incident specifically is a reflection of just simply me being naive, being honest with you. And I lost, you know, potential campaigns that I could have been talking about today. You know, conflicts are part of life, bro. You're not gonna be right all the time, bro. But I feel like rule number one is compensate.
Welcome to Black Out Loud in association with Brazen Black, where we sit down with visual architects shaping culture. Today's guest is a filmmaker whose work spans across global brands, street culture, and the pulse of South African music. From commercial campaigns to working with artists in the Amapiano space, today's guest is Nqo, also otherwise known as Optical Illusion. Nqo, my brother, how are you?
I'm well, thanks to you, my brother.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, man.
So, Nqo, my brother, let's start all the way from the beginning. Who is Nqo before filmmaking, and what kind of set you on this journey?
So, damn, that's a very broad question, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But look, I don't know. I don't always think I wanted to be a filmmaker per se, but I think I always had, like, you know, some sort of a profound attachment to creating. And, you know, I wasn't the most creative person growing up, but towards high school and the end of high school, you know, I got really interested in just creating stuff. And I mean, one of those main creations was literally picking up a camera and, you know, being able to take pictures and adjust a couple of things.
Yeah.
You know, it really started off as a cool thing, funny enough. Like, I used to see people doing all these cool effects. You know?
Yeah.
And yeah.
This was in high school?
Yeah, this was in high school. You know, over time, I really started getting interested into it. And I got like a camera throughout high school, grade 9.
Yeah.
Started
You got
taking
a
some
camera in
picture.
grade 9?
Yeah, that was the first time I had a camera, actually.
Ow.
It was like a Nikon 3100. It was like,
Okay.
it was standard DSLR, bro. But like at that time, bro, it was doing too much for me. You know, it's the first time I ever saw like 24 megapixels. Like, they're live. You know, but then over time, you know, it grew onto me. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, man, I wasn't the brightest kid in high school as well, you know. So, you know, filmmaking was a kind of, or let me not say filmmaking per se, but, you know, the process of creation, taking pictures.
Yeah.
It was something I was gravitating towards while I was struggling in school, you know. So my natural competence and my aggression towards it grew drastically towards the end of school because it was becoming my fall on plan. And I started just like, I figured out, you know, the schools like AFTA and, you know, there's platforms maybe where you can go where things are easier. And I went there, you know, it wasn't as easy, but.
Yeah. So you went to varsity, you studied with film school. Yeah. Where did you go?
I went to AFTA.
AFTA, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll explain that. I'll
Okay.
explain that as well. But yeah, and I mean, part of that, I mean, like my it feels like a newfound love to me because, you know, growing up, it wasn't the easiest things to access. You know, I come from Kiani, so I wasn't really exposed to filmmaking. I kind of found it as I moved to Joburg. So my love for it is kind of new and profound, kind of new and like, it's kind of recent, 5-6 years. So yeah, the after journey helped it as well.
Oh, okay. And then tell us a little bit more about that, the after journey.
I I always struggled in school, bro. If I'm being honest with you, I don't think I was dumb or stupid or like slow. You know, no offense. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I just, I was never the type of person to put focus or gravitate towards something that didn't make sense to me. So going to AFDA actually was a new experience for me. It felt like it's kind of like a euphoric dream. It's a privilege. Like I'll be honest with you, going to a school like that is a privilege. It not everyone gets to go there, and I've met quite a number of people who wish they could have been in a platform like that, or I feel as if a platform like that would help them so much. And the experience was good. Overall, I'm grateful. It was a difficult experience for me because I met a lot of challenges, in after, and I had to make a lot of decisions while I was in school, and school comes with pressure, parental pressure, all of that. You said you want to do this, now you can't back out, but it was a good experience, very informing, and it kind of put me closer to where I think I'm eventually trying to be. And it's very informative. Sometimes we do misconceptualize education as something that is unbeneficial, but it did have its benefits for me, it did have its advantages, and it's part of the reason why I can tell a story today. So I'm grateful, and I think it was a good experience.
Absolutely, man. And certainly for filmmaking, my favorite thing to say is no one is born a filmmaker. You can be born a storyteller. You can be born with a beautiful voice, but filmmaking, you're going to have to put in those hours.
Yeah,
you're gonna
quite literally, bro. More than 10,000. I promise.
More than 10,000. And so while we're still there at AFDA, what was each year looking like? Like, how was each year different from the one before, from the first, second, all the way to the point you graduated?
So
even in terms of like you getting opportunities or work outside of school.
What was happening in my life in general. So my first year in AFDA was like, okay, I came out of high school and I went into film school, and for the first few months I was just kind of like a student. And look, I had this friend called Lavas Lerato. I just want to speak about that story as well right now. It's just like, shout out to him, shout out to Lavas. If you see this, Lavas, shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you. Like, you're the guy. So Lavas was like, to me, like, I was taking pictures throughout high school, remember? So Lavas was one of like my older friends. He was like 2 grades, 3 grades higher than me. Like, I had this crew of guys I used to chill with, They used to call themselves the B-Boys. It's like Major, TK, those are like their names. Shout out to my guys, man. They really put me onto a good creative spectrum, like I just had a couple of friends who, this guy is from Limpopo, he's just showing him videos like, yo, dog, look at this shit. I know you just bought a camera, So it was good exposure for me because like I didn't grow up listening to this artist, dog. I used to listen to Deep House, dog. Literally, bro. I used to listen to Deeper Shades. I was that guy, So Lavas, when I got into my first year, 6 months, 5 months in, he started reaching out to artists. He was like kind of like in this space where he's trying to break through into the creative industry, into the music industry. So he reached out to a couple of artists, a couple of piano artists, and this was 2021. So this was right after lockdown. So he's reaching out to everyone. He's like, yo, how can we like, I know this guy was a photographer and I can see like your Instagram needs stuff. So like, how can this guy come and, make your stuff better? How can we work and stuff like that? And funny enough, one of the people that responded was Kelvin Momo. Beneficial. Like, it was crazy. Like, oh, damn, Kelvin Momo. That time I wasn't really like listening to piano a lot,
like
you know.
that,
I was now, because I've been chatting my nigga. So I'm a nigga, but we lockdown, I'm a creator like that, I believe in the free spectrum, like the creative economy is about like being very versatile and understanding different mediums and forms of art. So yeah, Lavas, he takes Kelvin Momo. Kelvin Momo's like, no, pull up, come take some pictures, come go to a few gigs, start moving. But now it starts. I'm going to school now, you know. So now, like, I'm not sleeping anymore. Throughout my first year, things are hectic, up and down, you know, like. And then throughout those weeks, now things start escalating even more. Now my brother's like, "Yo, let's go to Cape Town. I need to have gigs in Cape Town." I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm going to Cape Town now." Look, sorry for the language, you know, but yeah, like, I'm like, "Yo, I'm going to Cape Town." We go to Cape Town. Now I'm starting to see more insight into, you know, like what the life of an artist is like.
At this point, what's this? First year, second year?
This is the first year. This is my first year. This is like maybe July.
Yeah.
July, June, July. Right there, maybe May, April, June, July.
Yeah.
Those 4 months. Yeah, the first 6 months to 8 months, if I'm being specific, yeah. And then the Cape Town, and then we started moving a bit more, going to different places. I started seeing so much, you know, and this was still my first year as well, you know.
And at this point, you're still just doing photography?
Yeah, I was still doing photography. I hadn't started shooting videos per se, you know. I was on like I had a Canon Mark II. It was it was a 5D Mark.
5D Mark II.
Mark II or Mark III, yeah. That's what I had at the time. So it shoots HD, so I couldn't shoot videos like that. I mean, that's just an excuse, but I mean, I'm sure somebody made a dope film. You know, there's too many sweats out here, bro. But that's not the point. Yeah. So how like it started integrating with school was that like it just started changing my kind of like my clock, my 24-hour clock, you know. I just started having to adjust, you know, because at some point now, like this is kind of starting to feel like a job, you know. Not even starting to feel like a job, it's a job.
Full on.
You understand? And obviously, like when you start off, you're unfamiliar with the adjustments that you have to make. So it's kind of just you live as you learn as you go. So yeah, as I went, I learned, and yeah, we kept working together right up until the end of my second year, actually. And I mean, bro, like I'm not saying it's a good or bad lifestyle to whoever's listening, but I was living the life. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I was flying everywhere, bro. You know, weekly. You know, like I'm talking about, like we're flying, we're going places, and that kind of exposure, bro. It's a different type of exposure. You understand? You get to see different types of things, how people think, people's cognitive responses to, you know, famous people and art, and how they appreciate it, what it means to them. So it was now an experience for me to see how people, you know, kind of consume things. You know what I'm saying? It was like me watching from a third person's perspective, because that's essentially what a photographer is.
Yeah.
It's like a third eye, you know, not this one.
Yeah, not the woo.
No, none of that, guys. But you know, like he kind of like sees from another perspective. So it was now starting to be such an informative experience towards me, and you know, like I was kind of like, I just kind of believe that, you know, I'll find some way to justify this in what I'm trying to do as well. You know, I'll keep shooting the photos, of course. You know, I was a photographer first passion, so I'm keeping my photography journey running.
Yeah.
But I'm learning lessons that I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna bank this in my pocket, and this is a lesson for me.
Yeah.
It will apply somewhere. How these people or how I consume these things as well will apply.
Yeah.
My second year finished, and at the end of my second year, I stopped working with Calvin, and I went into my third year, and things like were now getting more hectic. So now I had to prepare for the final year of school, and now I was not in the best terms with my lecturers and some of my classmates. You know, it wasn't the worst, but it's just like Dimana Asiras, because obvious you just looking at me like this brew phila mnati and tell about obvious nigga phila mnati, but kiss pansaka kire jwang, like am I supposed to like now like okay ngaphuza utshwala or like, you know, I could sing this down, but it's the type of environment that I'm living in. You know what I'm saying? It's a pacey lifestyle, you know? So I wasn't in the best terms, you know, like it just kind of seemed like I was just straying away from everyone else, you know, and the idea of, you know, how peaceful film can be and how it is such a, you know, like it's not that type of sport, you know, it's something that requires a high level of focus, you know, tranquility, you know, you need to be calm, you know. I believe filmmakers need to be calm, you know, patience, you know, you need to cultivate an amount of patience that you quite frankly can't even justify.
Yeah.
It just needs to come from you. So obviously those type of things reflected a certain type of way, and I don't even think I was being judged. It just looked bad, you know. It just looked like when we turned down. The couple of months passed in my third year.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I need to go back, you know, because now I'm like, I feel the tempo of the school, and I'm like, it's not as hectic as I thought it would be. You know, I can go back, I can keep doing this thing, and I can keep getting better. Actually, I can double this, you know. I can be that guy, you know, and I can be disciplined. I met Stana, and we went on the road, and this was my third year. We went on the road, and when I met Stana, I was now different, you know, like my idea of a technical approach was different. You know, I wanted better cameras now. I wanted better stuff, you know, so I was becoming kind of resourceful with what I was using. And obviously those cameras expose you to different things. Like, oh, I can shoot a video now. Then I figured out I could shoot a video because Stan is a crazy performer.
Yeah.
So he's going off. I'm taking these pictures, but I'm looking at these pictures. I'm like, damn, I'm not capturing nothing here, you know. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna double in and I'm gonna do these videos. I started shooting the videos for Stana. And
what camera were you using?
I was using a A7C.
Oh,
yeah, a Sony A7C.
Yeah.
Start shooting the videos, start shooting the pictures. My third year, I'm on the road. Things are much better, but like now I'm losing more and more and more attendance. Like in terms of connection to my school journey. Like I'm not attending as much.
Yeah.
You know, tensions are rising, even worse. You know, my teachers are like just not feeling me anymore. They're just like, you know, it's cool, bro. Like just do what you want.
Yeah,
It's not high school, bro. Like we really don't care.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
You know what I'm saying? Not that they don't care. They
but
they some caring people, man. Shout out to them. Shout out to Mark. Yeah, that's the guy who told me how to grade. So he's really dope. So I mean, we keep going. I keep shooting Stana, and I mean, it wasn't smooth sailing, but it wasn't too dramatic, you know. It's kind of just like you had to find a balance, you know. As crazy as something can be, it's really not impossible, you know. Like, you know, the idea of the human mind and the spectrum that it can operate on, like, you don't need 8 hours, you know. You need a couple, but not 8, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I stumbled until the end of the year, and I mean, like, from me to you, I didn't really make it, bro. Like, I kind of failed, bro. Like, not even kind of, I failed. Like, they were like,
I appreciate the honesty, man.
We kind of allow you to pass, dog. Like, this would be a total abomination. Like, they didn't tell me that directly, but I felt that kind of energy. Like, dog, you haven't been coming. Now you're telling us you want to pass. Rest. You know, but then, like, obviously, like, yeah, I had to go back, you know, do my other stuff, you know, do some supplementary stuff for that. And eventually I made it over the line, bro.
Yeah. Shout outs, man. Shout outs.
I was grateful for that, you know, and, you know, although I wasn't the best student, you know, I do feel like I could have done better. You know, I could have invested more in my schoolwork. I could have learned a few more stuff, you know, off of what they were trying to tell me. Of course, they didn't just want to teach me stuff to say, you're not going to use these things, you know. Some of those lessons I've learned in the near years that, had I listened to some of those things I wouldn't be struggling on set, figuring out things, you know. So
do you have a few of those? Like what's an example of a lesson where you're like,
specific to school or just like
specific to school or even others, you know?
I think the biggest lesson I learned was preparation is the most important thing, bro. There's nothing that he's the guy who comes to war with a loaded gun, bro.
Yeah.
You know, if you're trying to load your bullets while this guy's gun is loaded, you know, like,
it's too late.
you're not going to win, you know. And I've learned a lot of lessons, but there's important lessons and there's, you know, like lessons that are just part of growing and adolescence. And I just feel like preparation for me I was a guy who was just like, remember my lifestyle, and it's like, get up and go. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, we need to do gear check. Like, I know this camera. Relax. When I pull up, it's going to be dope. You know, like that type of stuff really plays a big role. And if you don't slow down to figure out that you need to stop to load your bullets, you need to stop to make sure that, you know, the tires on the wheel are full. You need to make sure there's gas and there's oil in the truck. You lose a lot of valuable opportunities as well. You know, I've learned my lessons a fair share way, bro. Like there's a couple of stuff that fell out. Like I couldn't manage, you know, I couldn't show up to stuff, you know, and I lost, you know, potential campaigns that I could have been talking about today, you know, I could have been flexing about today, but they didn't fall through because when I was too busy, like that type of stuff, you know, and
that happens, man.
yeah, it happens, you know, when you're too up and down sometimes, you know, you learn the hard way that tlamele u slow it down.
Find a way, yeah. That's interesting, man. You've said a lot. And when you're just talking about just the discipline end of things and preparation, man, when it comes to filmmaking, there's absolutely nothing you can do, at least sustainably, without being a person. You have to have a plan, you have to be disciplined, you have to prep. So tell me, when in the 3 years, I mean, you said near the end of your second year, you start picking up a camera, you start shooting Stana. When is it when you start feeling like, okay, I've made the transition from photo to video now? I'm confident now.
Okay, so, and this was when 2023 maybe.
2023.
This is 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think it was also, I did want to shoot videos all along, you know, when throughout Momo staying, like, you know, but obviously I just had that thing with, the camera might keep going, like, excuse me. I just had that thing with, the camera might keep going, so, I am a video but soon as I started getting more familiar with other gear and, you know, like, the photography community is like, it's a very good community. Bro.
Yeah.
It's a very crazy community, bro. But I can sit here giving keys to a lot of people, bro. And that's one thing I expect people to know is that, like, if you're growing creative, a good growing creative is that, bro, there's always 100 people that can say they had a hand in what you were doing. And most likely it's true, you understand? The photography community is a community like that.
Yeah.
I had like niggas I could borrow stuff from. I had people I could borrow gear from, you know. I could borrow certain things from. They tell me, it's fine. So that type of exposure kind of kept pushing me to say, no, milling shoot the video. And Pela Stana was more up-tempo, you know, from traditional DJ. You know, DJs don't do much, but, you know, Stana's work is up-tempo. You're like, he's a performer.
Yeah.
So if you want to, like, kind of like stay on that type of energy.
Yeah.
And like, this is also if you want to shoot, like, if you're a shooter and you want to work with artists. Now, I'm not even like, I think like you can learn a good amount of competence working with artists and pacing, you know. Stano is a high tempo guy. Like, he performs like, crazy, like, and you need to capture that. You understand?
I've seen a few of his performances. Yeah.
You need to capture that. And that's your pride and joy, you know. Before anyone can ask me, where's that crazy video? It's my own pride and joy to say, Joe, I need to make sure I capture that. Do you understand? As a creator, I want to live with that image. I want to live with that video, and it must tell that story. So I think it's just my attitude changed, you know, throughout my second to third year. And I just realized that I need to be a bit more aggressive with the type of work that I'm trying to convey. That's how eventually I got into the videos.
And what comes first, cinematography or the coloring? I mean, do you pick that up while in school or later?
I picked up color. So can I give you a bit of a backstory on why I'm interested in color?
Yeah.
So I was like, throughout lockdown, bro, I was very interested in Quentin Tarantino's movies, you know. Like I said, I grew up in Kiani, so my exposure to things wasn't as open when I was a child. So a lot of stuff I learned in my late 18, like teens to my 20s. So you have to understand, me seeing that for the first time, the amount of inspiration I'm generating, that's probably why I've also maybe like been good in my recent times, because I'm still learning stuff that a lot of people I've met around here, they've known this stuff all their lives.
And
but
they're
to me, it's
very
like,
chilled
this is
about
really inspiration, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was only exposed to Kill Bill and them. So I watched Pulp Fiction. And after I watched Pulp Fiction, and specifically the scene where they're sitting in the diner, I was like blown away, bro. I'd never seen like something quite so visually appealing. And for me, it was like, okay, how did they get you? Like, you know, and I spent basically my film school journey trying to ask the teachers, how did they do this? How did they grade like this? Why is this graded? And along the way, I just realized that, you know, like I kind of just have to figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
Tarantino ain't in the building, you know, like Mark is here, but like, you know, Tarantino ain't in the building.
Bro,
So I developed like a good connection to color because it was one of the classes also that over time, it wasn't too interactive, you know, like it was something I could do by myself, you know. I love group work. I'm a good team player, but, you know, color was one of the individual things I could do by myself. You know, I could sit in grading room and sit there for hours. And I think those are the real type of connections we should try and make with what we're doing is how it feels, you know. And for me, grading is just always been a feeling, you know. I think the process of grading for me is like what I really like. And I love cinematography and I just feel like it has too many sweats. Like there's too many good cinematographers. It's just full of sweats, but color, it's something that I still feel like
There's still,
you know, it's still a bit of a treasure, you know, and I'm that type of person that believes in like, you know, there's magic, you know, and something that hasn't been discovered as much, you know.
yeah.
And so I do think color is, you know, my first love and cinematography being my second. But, you know, it depends on the day.
It depends on the day,
Yeah,
man.
it depends on the day.
And then at the time, you shooting Ustan, and it's mostly what events and performances at that point. You haven't, or have you transitioned to any actual video work, like music videos or anything like that? And when you do, what does that transition look like? Who's your first actual music video client or artist, for lack of a better word?
So how I got into music videos basically while I was shooting on the road. So how it was working was the first big video I shot, bro. First big video was Dlala Ka Yona. But my introduction to music videos came when like Masterpiece hit me up. Masterpiece, shout out Masterpiece. It's like him and Stan are really close.
Yeah.
Like, they're like kind of like brothers. So they have a good relationship. It's like, oh, he hit me up. It's like, yo, Nico, bro, let's shoot. You know, we go, we shoot some videos for him, and this was kind of like my first time. Like, I won't even lie to you. That was the first music video I shot. It's Woza Matala by Masterpiece, Tyler ICU, El Chapo, and I know it's not important, but to show you, that's my first. I remember everyone that was there. So, like I shot that, and it wasn't as hectic. I shot like one or two while I was on the road, and then Sims hit me up. This is my like the one person I've done a lot of videos with, like my closest associate, like my bro Sims. Like Sims hit me up. It's like, dog, let's shoot Dlala Ka Yona.
And for people who don't know Sims, what role does he play?
So Sims is a director. He's a shooter. He's a creative director. You know, he's an all-round creative. You know, this is just like he's in the space, and you know, he's one of those guys that keep, you know, pushing out stuff. That keep stuff coming out. You know, so Sims hits me up. He's like, "Hey Joe, I got this nice song. Tiba Nice. That's what it was called at the time." I was like, "Yeah, let's shoot this song."
Yeah.
We shoot that song. You know, by that time, like I was on the road, but this is the last year. Yeah, last year, bro. Last year. Like, let's shoot this song. But by then I had done a couple of more videos, but it wasn't on a time frame like week to week.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'd done a couple of videos with Art Villain before that. So I eased into it. I done a couple of videos with Art Villain. He's also a creator, you know, so he was directing and he's like, come shoot, you know, let's shoot some videos, let's make some stuff. And then as we went on. Sims is like, yo, no, let's do Tiba Nice. We do Tiba Nice. It blows up, bro. He calls me, he's like, dog, we have 2 days to do this thing. And they want to drop the video on Friday. It's Wednesday. He's like, yo, we got to shoot tomorrow and they got to drop the video on Friday. Yeah, he told me we shot Wednesday and the video came out on Friday. Yeah. So, he told me on Tuesday. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we shoot Wednesday up until Thursday. We shoot from Wednesday around 12 p.m., midday. Early, 12 is late for set. 10 a.m., 10 a.m. So Thursday, about 3, 4 a.m. Yeah, bro. It was raining the day. We had to move scenes. And then we finished the edit in 2 days. The video goes up. It blows up. As it blows up, obviously, not like people called me the next day and say, oh, shit, that was dope. But over time, I started just gravitating towards more and more music videos because now I was exposed to an environment where I realized, oh, snap, I can take the pressure,
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. It's all pressure checks, I'm like, okay, the water's not too cold. I'm going to keep going, I kept going. And by last year, June, now I was starting to rake in music videos. Not too much. I was still doing a lot of social stuff. Reels, that was still my strong point, actually. I haven't touched too much into it, but Reels was still my strong point, and they were my break point for videos, remember?
Yeah.
Like I explained with Standard. So 6 months into it, now I start raking in a couple more music videos. I did Bamba, I'm doing like visualizers, I'm starting to see my stuff reappear more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Starting to become more familiar. And then, things didn't really get too hectic until like November. By November, bro, my phone was ringing like every day, bro. I'm not even trying to be funny with you, bro. My phone was ringing every day, bro.
Yeah.
And now the lessons are starting to kick in. The school lessons. As much as I was not prepared for this, I could have been prepared for this. You know what I'm saying? And that school was like teaching us that, look, if you can study producing, this person can study directing, this person can study this, this person can study this. But in my head, I was the producer, the director, the shooter, the editor, the grader. I was filling 8 roles, So now, like, it's starting to shala me here. Like, man, bony phone, it's like, oh.
Yeah. And you end up becoming that guy.
You understand?
Yeah.
But I'd see like, okay, this guy does not answer the phone. But if I pick up the phone and I answer and I say, yes, let's do it. Because there's no way you can say no to a lot of what people are calling for. They'll tell you, dog, please, bro, I need you, bro.
Yeah.
And, bro, if you need me, bro, I'm going to try and
bro.
pull through, you understand? I'm that type of guy,
Yeah.
It's kind of some lessons I learned as well. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't pull through all the time,
Yeah.
But if you're too busy, you can feel like you can pull through. So, after that, my phone started going crazy, and I did Abantwana Bakho.
Yeah.
With,
Can I disturb you?
Yeah, sorry.
Let's pin it at Abantwana Bakho. There's a question I want to ask because I know I'm going to forget. And it's a question about that, like the pressure. You said it's essentially all of these things are pressure checks, and you're so right. But very unlikely that the first few times you're thrown into the ring, you're gonna figure it out. It takes a while to get to the point.
It takes a while.
It takes a while to get to the point where you're able to handle the pressure. So it's the pressure, schedules, discipline, all these things. But it happens, and from my experience and just you speaking to other creatives, you do get to that point where you start overbooking yourself, you start overstretching yourself. Overcommitting, and it's only a matter of time until that snaps. You're going to drop the ball, you're going to disappoint the client, you're not going to show up for something, you're not going to deliver, etc., etc. And it's a very tricky situation to get out of, because all it takes is you to really mess up once for you to, lose a good relationship. And sometimes you may never get that relationship back. With the times where similar things have happened, where you feel like you might have dropped the ball or disappointed someone or overbooked yourself, like you were saying, at some point you're so busy, and there's also the fact that you genuinely want to work on the thing. Sometimes it's like, no, I'm not even trying to be funny or taking more than I can chew. I genuinely want to work with that thing or on that thing with that person and this person, but I still have to do this. How have you dealt with that conflict? Because that's essentially just conflict resolution, amongst other things, but ultimately getting to the point where you can, if you've even had those, where you address the issue, like, hey man, whether it's apologizing, accounting for what happened, and trying to mend that relationship and get back on the other person's good books.
Well, to be honest with you, bro, another lesson I've really learned is that, like, you just have to do as much as you can. You understand? And a big part of creation that I don't think we speak about enough is intention. You know, I create with intention, bro. I work with intention, and my effort is also intention. You know what I'm saying? So I think in like every other person, I've been wrong and I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've never shied away from being wrong. You understand? I caught a good amount of L's, bro. I still do catch on a good amount of L's, you know, and you don't always there's specific type of L's, like there's different types of L's. I've lost clients where it's never come back, and I've went and been like, yo, you know, like a couple of times, you know, like where I'm like, "Yo, can we talk about it again?"
Yeah.
They tell you straight, Joe, we're not interested. Some of them, they don't even reply, you know.
Yeah.
I've had major conflicts, but I think I've always tried to base any problem that I have on it being a progressive conflict. So if we're going to have a conflict, I would most probably always prefer to engage on something that has to do with work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've dealt with like you're saying, like we all have our times where we deal with specific type of conflict relationships and all of that.
Yeah.
But I only engage where it's specifically based on work, and that's where I can go and really express myself. But if I'm wrong, and I'm wrong, and it has nothing to do with a specific type of project, I've always been able to, you know, be open about being wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't ever believe I was perfect or I'm perfect in the work that I do.
Yeah.
Because I do believe a lot of people have gravitated towards some of the stuff that I've done because of how unconventional it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm someone that I bank on a mistake. You know, I bank on a lesson, and it's not. I don't think we should shy away from it. You know, I don't think we should shy away from the fact that we all make mistakes, and heavy mistakes and crucial mistakes as well. But most of the cases it's about your intention, and it's always almost about how you've always portrayed yourself. You know what I'm saying? Me specifically, when it comes to what I do and shooting, I've always tried to have a neutral feeling about it.
Yeah.
I've always tried to hold my work with respect. You know, I've always tried to do more than the client asks. You know, I've always tried to overextend myself. You know, so I don't think it's a bad thing, and I don't think I'd ever change, and I don't think I'd ever adjust or, you know, I that's how I am, and that's how certain businesses is. Pick and Pay won't change because someone complained about, you know, a certain type of thing, and this other place won't change because you know someone is unhappy or someone is too happy. You know, you kind of just have to live through it. You know, conflicts are part of life, bro. You're not gonna be right all the time, bro.
Yeah.
You're gonna be wrong, gang. Bro.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about creating, and
Yeah.
our industry is shooting, bro. Like there's gang times where I've just done nonsense, bro. Believe me, bro. Like there's gang times where I've done nonsense, and you know, like I've suffered for my nonsense as well, you know, and I do believe that it's just lessons, you know. It's just, for me, it's just a part of life, and I try not to take things too much, too hard. To say like, you know, I'm being crucified for certain things happening, or I'm being crucified. I've lost cameras. I've like been involved in like, you know, someone broke my stuff, and it's like, this guy he borrowed my lens and he broke my only lens, you know. I dropped my camera. I've been reckless, bro. Like,
You've
you know,
caught quite the L's. You were right. Yeah.
I've been reckless, bro. Like I'm just I was really never like this guy who like grew up around this type of equipment, expensive stuff, you know, environmentals where there's like big sets and serious stuff, you know. So I just live and I learn, bro. Literally, I live and I learn.
No, that's great advice, man. And I think it's very important for upcoming creatives because I used to think it's an issue maybe if you didn't go to school because maybe you didn't learn the systems of how to deal with, I guess, the professional aspect of the job, not just the creative part of it. But then, as you're mentioning, also, you went to school, but the way in which your life panned out, you ended up missing some of those lessons that you ended up having to pay for later. And I've been in that position many times. And once again, if you're in this type of work, you're gonna drop the ball at some point. And what I've always tried to value more than anything else is, okay, it's inevitable that at some point, if we're working together, I might disappoint you, I might deliver late, I might make a mistake, etc., etc. There might be a miscommunication. So it's always been focusing on that. Like, okay, what do you do then after that? A lot of people, nobody likes to flop.
Yeah,
Nobody
nobody
likes to
likes
drop the
catching
ball.
up, bro. Yeah.
So people do what they can in those moments, and people like, step back. People cut communication. I have a friend who dropped a ball on a very small thing, and it's been 3 years, and I'm calling the guy. He never picks up, and I know why he's not picking up. It's having that conversation of, "Ish, bro, I'm really sorry about that shoot," which is water under the bridge that we can move over. But it's even me noticing that in the relationship was coming from, oh man, I've been in the position that he's in. So now it's just trying to get to the point where it's like, yo, bro, it's not the end of the world. We can keep working together and whatnot. So I wanted to press on that because I've realized, especially with the younger creatives, there's usually no recourse like when it comes to conflict resolution, because that is conflict. Once you've and especially when you're supposed to take accountability and it's fully on you, then it starts becoming a tricky thing where it's like, okay, maybe I just ignore this side of the world totally and as much as I can. But it's like small industry, you're gonna bump into people very quickly. But also if you're working with the same types of people, your name is gonna get around, and last thing you want is lawyer,
Yeah.
Spanil and a lawyer, and don't even, So it's mostly that, and it takes a while to learn that lesson, And when you do make the mistakes, you're never making the mistake because you don't respect the other person or the other party or anything. It's just, once again, overbooked yourself or whatnot. But let's pick back up Abantwana Bakho. Yes, you were still.
Okay, so yeah, by then, things were too busy,
Yeah.
So we did Abantwana Bakho. It was November. We did it. I did it with. There's a guy called KK. Like, I work with a lot of people, bro. I mean, we all work with a lot of people, but I'm saying, like, I'm so open.
Yeah.
One thing I love about sets is like the idea that we can all just like come and contribute an idea, contribute, an inch, 10%. So I shot Abantwana Bakho with KK, OD, Nigel was also there. They went they did because the video is it has a lot of B-rolls, it has a lot of profiling. So they did the traveling, I was on the road, So this was the type of adjustments we were making. But it was working, you see what I'm saying? It's possible, Like, I don't have to be there for everything, And that's my strong belief is I can't wama everything, bro. Like, it's wama. There's 300 shots in the video. You understand? But there's 4 people here that can do exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Why am I wamaring? The guys went out, they did their stuff. They shot most of the B-rolls that connect the video, They shot the story of the video. And then they, after a couple of weeks, we linked up to shoot the performance. I just came in to shoot the performance for Tato, Nkosazana, Stana.
Yeah.
And after that, the video, we shot that, and I think it took a week also.
To cut.
A week after it was dropped. After it dropped, then I got a call to shoot Shella. Then I went to shoot Shella. We shot Shella with Sam Deep.
that?
Nearpel. That was dope. It was a really fun experience. Kind of delving into, experimenting different ideas, also I believe as a creative, you should be able to facilitate clients and you know, obviously I'm not going to be too specific, but you know, Shella was a good experience of doing what the client expects. You know, that was a good lesson for me to learn, you know.
Yeah.
That's a thing I think a lot of creatives also like hate and bank on, is that like, if I'm the creator, I choose 100% of the ideas and I'm the right one. But I can go in there and I can be like, yo, Sam, what do you want? He's like, I want 1, 2, 3. It's like, sharp. It doesn't connect, doesn't matter. Let's go figure it out. That's the nice part, you know, like running around and say, yo, how are we gonna make this thing work, you know? Sharp. We did Shella.
Before you move on from Shayla, when you guys are doing Shayla, where in its lifespan is it? Is it at a point where it's big in the streets?
Oh yeah, this was when it's like the biggest song in the country. Like,
Okay.
and Shella and Abantwana Bako, they competing like
Yeah.
for 1 and 2. So that was like really cool for me.
Yeah.
I like that part
Was
of
there
the
any
work.
pressure in terms of like delivering on a song that's already built such
No,
status?
I don't think so, in the sense that I love like when we cut to the chase, like give me the real stuff. Like give me that song, like let me shoot it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have much fears on how it's gonna turn out, but I do suffer from a great amount of anxiety from pre-production till the camera switches on.
Really?
Like I suffer from a huge amount of anxiety, bro. Like I'm saying, I'm a person that struggles in planning. You know, the execution is not much of, because you know I feel like execution has its limits. You know, we're not gonna walk on set and shoot something.
That's not
Now
there,
this guy's
yeah.
gonna look like he's in an Audemars Piguet store, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. So
Can only shoot what's
planning is what you control. You know, it's 100% of you and your ideas, and what you want is the planning. So
That
those
brings
songs
a
were
bit
the
of-
biggest songs in the country at the time, but I was like, yo, I was banking on it. We had planned this. We had shared ideas for Abantwana Bako. We spent a couple of weeks planning Shella. And it was exciting to do, more exciting than scared, you know, because I think I also knew the safety that, you know, like, I mean, we've spent a good amount of hours doing this over and over and over.
Yeah.
By that time, bro, I was shooting videos every week. I was shooting a music video weekly. From maybe mid-October or the beginning of October. I was shooting a music video weekly, bro. So if I wasn't shooting, I was editing it. And if I wasn't editing, I was grading it. So I had a huge amount of exposure. And the people I work with, they work with other people. So they kept their hours going as well. So like as long as the momentum is up, when there's like money in the streets, in the sense that like these videos treat, like imagine them as money.
Yeah.
It's circulating. How money circulates, when work circulates, people's momentum, morale gets high. You know, it starts to feel like a creative economy, as opposed to just us running around and making videos. So by Shella, we were a confident crew, you know. We were walking into something we've walked into a couple of times. So we did Shella, and then I think that was what close of the year. That was like, we did Nqanawe as well, but that was before Shella and Abantwana Bako. That was also a nice one. And then, I mean, after that, the labels kind of closed off because of December, it's holidays, of course. And I went into December, shot on the road. Like every other year, I was on the streets, you know, traveling.
So
sleepless
you
nights,
worked
those-
through this December.
Yeah.
Why?
What do you mean why? What do you mean why?
Shouldn't you be resting? Especially with as hectic of a career as you have.
Bro, have you seen like where we are trying to go and where we are?
Alright, fair,
You
fair,
understand?
fair,
I think
fair.
it's like rest is like, I rest, bro. Like I do rest like, you know, any other person. I sleep, you know, I chill at the house, you know, just have my own. But I think rest is like, we can rest, bro, but we need to do some like real creative introspection on where we want to be and measure our rest based on that, you know. Measure the breaks and the strides that we take based on where we want to be, you know. And doesn't mean now we must overwork ourselves, but also doesn't mean we must sleep on staying outside.
That's a great way of looking at it. And so we went from photography, we went videography / cinematography. You spoke about coloring also. I do know that you edit also. Where in that does the editing get picked up?
So
Is it more of a necessity when you're doing music videos, or is it from the Reels era?
yeah, like editing, né? Shout out to the editors. If like you're an editor and like you're sitting out there, shout out to you. But here's what I think.
Yeah.
And this is my own opinion, you know, like I'm about to get opinionated.
Yeah.
Edits are difficult and they're a comprehensive thing. You understand? And as much as it's comprehensive, as in you need to know the software, you need to know the procedure of how it works to kill the time and do it fast, you also need to have an instinctual element to it, you know? So I only edit because I don't have the time to per se. When music videos, they tell you they want in 2 days.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like, how am I going to go see an editor in 2 days?
yeah,
The editors don't like to be,
yeah.
you understand? Like, you come and they tell you straight, nah, bro, calm down, bro. I am not doing that, you know? Like, and I get it because he has to go through stuff he's never seen before. And also because I don't really have a relationship with the editor. The relationship I had with an editor, he moved to Cape Town and he's doing like crazy edits there. But
Yeah.
if someone, like, I'm not even trying to be arrogant, I wish I could meet a good editor. I really do.
Yeah.
I've met good editors, but the time deliveries I work
Yeah.
on are crazy.
It's
and
crazy. It is. It
you
is.
understand? I don't want now someone turn back and say, this guy wahlanya.
Yeah.
Unkupa the edit in a couple of hours. Nah, Joe, I come from set to edit
Yeah.
in most cases. There's music videos where I shot where I leave the set to go edit, not to go dump or to go straight into the edit. You know, sometimes I cut corners, you know. You know, I don't do proxies, my brother. I go straight into the thing. And I like, you understand? Like, I'm here to,
Yeah,
you know, like, but those
yeah.
are the type of unfair advantages you have to use. If you went to school, they taught me a system that I can use. But nothing in YouTube tells
yeah.
on YouTube, you're not gonna see the proxies.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see, you just see the video.
Yeah.
And I want to get to the video, you know. And sometimes that's not always a good team playing sports.
Yeah.
In a team, you need a system. You need it for the structure. You need a, and I struggle with some of that, like, you know, over time. So that's why I don't have a good relationship with the editor.
Yeah.
Or I don't use an external editor.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm impatient.
And there's no one in the team who's been like, let me pick this thing
I
up.
feel like we're gonna meet an editor soon after this podcast.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sure.
absolutely.
I'm sure.
Correct. Yeah. It is.
It's not just about and then once on sci-fi, you know, because I've been recently really into sci-fi.
Yeah.
You know, I think South Africa needs that aspect. That yes, I also it's bringing a lot of like unconventional things, lasers, money, light emulsions. You know, like the whole sci-fi thing. I know you know what I'm thinking.
I know exactly what you're thinking. Why not? Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Okay,
So
let's
I'm trying to give you like a nice variation, you know, but
let's see.
let's put it there. Let's put this.
Alright, man. Yeah, it is. It's
my
really.
variation. Okay, here's how like I feel like you should approach me. It's the first rule.
Yeah.
Try to pay it, bro. You understand? It's difficult. You're starting off, but I feel like rule number one is compensate people. You know, kind of the first thing. I try to kind of make my rule of thumb. This is even before I consider money. There's certain people I don't really go without, you know, and that's the beauty of a crew, you know. Some people you meet along the way, they want to go with you everywhere. You can tell them, bro, I'm going to the worst place right now. They tell you, yeah, the budgets are quite tight. They are like the ranges. You know, you're not. I don't want to be too specific on numbers, you know, but I mean, like you're capping out, like you're not making as much as it looks like you're
Let's
making.
do it in tiers. We don't necessarily need to know
Yeah.
how much like you've charged for a music video, but you've done them long enough to know that, for example, if you're making a music video for an artist that's in the beginning phase of their career,
Hmm.
you're probably not making nothing more than this amount. And then if
Yeah.
you're someone who's like blowing up, is
But I
in
mean, if I'm being realistic, bro, and if I'm being informative, like um a lot of the time for things that are not like too big, you're looking around your 50K, 40K, 30, even 20, at some stage, works out. It depends also on the idea and the relationship obviously you have with the growing artist. Do you see value in leaving them with a project worth a certain amount of money? And yeah, we like to cry about money also, as much as budgets are tight, like most of the time you're capping out, like even if you're doing big videos, you're capping out like at around 200K, bro. Like that's as much as you might work with, if you're a newly found creator that like this kind of Amapiano economy
yeah,
trust, and it's a new growing economy, 200K does feel small sometimes depending on the idea that you're doing, but it's a lot of money for an industry that was not around, like a decade ago, like that didn't have this kind of solid structure. So I think the chat of the budgets is also highly based on what's been put out. I think uh, majors and label owners and people who put out money, artists, they assess the ground. They look and they say, okay, my estimate on this is that it'll probably cost this amount of money. Also because they haven't been exposed to what it actually costs and what their favorites or what their role models have actually paid for some videos that have less than what their videos have. So I think it's just a timely thing, for creative like me. I think I'm one of the like one of the few beginning, so I don't necessarily think the budget thing is the worst thing in the world because
yeah,
we're building this, so we can't be arguing that we need more all the time
yeah,
when in matter of fact is that like this is growing over time, and I've seen growth in my journey. And, I'm grateful for those people who are open to the conversation because I do think, a lot of people our age that are growing and becoming celebs, becoming musicians and, just getting into the space of media in general, they are starting to understand the production value,
yeah,
It's no longer just about let's pick up a camera and shoot,
yeah.
Some people now have ideas, they contribute, and they understand the value of those ideas. So budgets are tight though. And I wouldn't say it's something you can't do. I'll be real with you. Like if you wanna do music videos and you wanna have a sustainable life, you can shoot music videos and be a sustainable guy. You understand? It's your choice. You'll go through the challenges of music videos, but if you believed in the idea that you can find sustainability in it, then it's possible. Um, when it comes to how to spend and keep and make, it's it's often a choice that boils down to you. Do I want to keep this extra 10K? Do I want to put it into something else to make this video dope? Or do I want to save it for the next project? That's how I imagine most of the stuff I do, like, am I going to spend this whole money now and bank on this project? Am I going to keep it, and pay something? Or am I going to keep it and make sure, my future personal projects are going to be well funded? So yeah, it's a nice back and forth though, but
Yeah.
it's a good experience, man, to fight for money. You know?
The reason why I asked, man, is once again, in filmmaking, in the creative space in general, but especially locally in filmmaking,
Hmm.
the money is very evasive.
Mm.
It runs away from a lot of us in one way or another. One minute you think you have it, the next it's not
Gone,
there.
man.
It's not the most clearest way unless you're doing a specific it's a specific type of trade. It's not the most clearest way as in how am I going to keep this sustainable, or unless you're like hired under a production company or you're a freelancer that's getting consistent work, which as a person who used to be a freelancer getting consistent work, it dries up at some point, one way or another, whether it's the industry changing, whether it's the economy, the wars happening in the world. You never know how
How it affects you, you know?
real life things actually play into your work. You find out when you find out. So I'm asking this once again because for filmmakers, upcoming filmmakers, the pricing is creatives in general. The what's your budget, what's your rate,
Yeah,
game,
the
the
game,
cat
yeah, the
and
back and forth, yeah.
you know, you keep on playing that. So it always helps. Like one of the first times someone ever put me on how to price for my work at the time, it changed my life forever. Like that year started being the first year where I started making money that makes sense, you know, without also feeling like I'm ripping off the client or I'm overcharging or I can't really justify what it is that I'm charging for. That's why I'm asking these questions, because it's always better to get it from someone who's in the mix, like who's actually doing the work, who's learned the lessons. You've undercharged, you've overcharged at some point, you've made money, didn't use it properly,
Yeah.
etc. And then obviously the other stuff, you know, the back end, the taxes, and there's so much to consider, you know, and it's getting more serious with each passing day.
Of time, yeah.
And it's very easy from outside to look at the gear, look at the, you know, the fits, and look at the overall aesthetic of the job, which is, you know, music video directing, and then think, oh, you know,
It's nice
and
glam.
that's how people arrive at not paying even other people,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
when the money, you're done shooting and you're still working on the thing and the client wants more things and you're looking at like this, I'm left with
Doesn't make sense.
2.5,
Yeah,
like what am I supposed to do, you know?
Ish.
Yeah, so it's very painful when you find yourself in that position and you're like, I should have thought about this way harder before I said yes, you know, before jumping onto it. So that's why I'm actually asking that question. But let's move over. We've spoken, you know, I feel like we've spoken a bit about music videos. Let's move over to some of your commercial work that you've done. How did you break into that? And you were mentioning it even with execs in music videos, and then and them rather not having maybe necessarily the clearest idea of like what it takes to pull off the production value that they're looking for. I would like to imagine it's slightly different in the world of commercials. There's a bit more being in touch with the budgets and what it takes to financially pull off what a client is looking for. So can you speak about the difference between those worlds? How did you
Okay.
transition into commercials? And when you were there, what are the big differences you
So, to be honest with you, I've not done like the biggest commercials or the most commercials, but I've done one or two, you know, and it like most of the stuff I've done, I've always, you know, gravitated towards creative industry, you know. So even the campaigns and the commercials I've done, um, the most experience I've realized from it is that you need to be a good listener, bro. Like, a lot of what we do is listening and delivering what you're supposed to deliver. And it's kind of black and white. You know, I think we forget the black and white a lot, and we love tying our identity to everything that we do, you know, which is, of course, correct. But um, I think when it comes to commercial and like work that is heavily based on corporate management,
find? Yeah.
then you have to be very on the tee when it comes to what they want. Satisfy the client. That's what also a lot of people don't realize. Is like, do what the client wants. You understand? And we don't have too much creative control simply because, like I keep saying, it to everyone else, like maybe I don't have the best knowledge on it, but from my past views, that a lot of the briefs I've encountered from you know, like some corporate brands and, you know, commercial spaces, that it not a South African brief. It already comes you know, projected, because I guess the idea of allowing our branch somewhere else to freely create is not the exact best idea, you know, as opposed to allowing our European branch, you know, because they are on like a different scale of creating and trust with brands. There are solo creators, I do believe, in South Africa that have won the trust of brands and creative freedom. I feel like creative freedom is something you win, in your journey, And for me per se, I wouldn't say I've won it, great deal of everything I've done, that people don't notice is I've done what people want. As much as my creativity is in there, I do what people want. I get there and I ask you, like, what do you want? Like, please tell me.
What do you want?
What do you
Alright.
want, bro? Like, I just need to know what you want. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think that's the major rule is that yeah, there's etiquette of course involved. There's always other stuff, etiquette, holding yourself well and all the treatments and all of that stuff and and all of the pre-production and all that. But at the end of the day, like you need to show that, you can do what they want and you can operate on a reasonable level, And some of the commercials that I've done, two commercials
Yeah.
and I've contested for way more, and I've lost to a lot of other creators who just were more prepared than me, who were just more knew what the client wanted than me. They went and they found out what am I working with. I'm not just optical. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I Standard Bank has this. Oh, can I can say like
Yeah.
you
can.
I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but you need to know your client, you know,
Yeah.
and I think some of that is highly based on a psychological aspect. Shooting is and production is psychological, so a lot of the times we're good, but we lose to people who understand the psychological element of it. So yeah.
I skipped a part
Mhm.
before jumping into commercials. I wanted to ask the transition to directing, because we spoke about the other
Shooting, yeah.
roles. But when you go, because we've been saying shooting, but we haven't been very clear, because there's times where you've just DOP'd, there's
Thank
times
you.
we've DOP'd and directed. Um, when does that happen? Which music video takes you into directing? But how also? And what makes you feel like I'm ready now?
Over time, DOPing for people, some people started hitting me up on my personal capacity. I was never a director because I always struggled to like be social like that. I really feel like directing when it comes to music videos specifically, it's very based on how social you are and
Yeah.
how you can communicate and how you can translate to the artist and how you can control the environment. So for me, a big part of my directing aspect, I would say, has been the fact that these people hit me up and they were like, yo, can we do some stuff with you? We just want you to shoot. But
Yeah.
when you're shooting, of course, now people start looking lost. And over time, I just had to, like speak up,
Yeah.
like, raise your voice and tell these people like what they need to do, like, and I kind of started liking it because as that grew, I kind of realized that it's not just about that. It's like now you actually get to sit for weeks and, plan this thing out and, make it look how you want it to look. And you can script it however you want. You can, that directing title, it holds a lot, it's not just something that is done technically or something that is done practically. It's a literal thing as well. So yeah.
And who could you say of the directors that you'd been shooting for, you kind of like soaked up the most from?
Uh,
Even though you might have not been aware in the moment, but in retrospect, you're like, actually,
I don't know, bro. I think a lot of stuff I've done has just been with my peers, and a lot of us have just been figuring it out. That's the beautiful part about it is that it's been my journey specifically, has been working with kind of people where we're figuring this thing out together, a lot of the direction I received was for grading, like actual direction, was like learning was from like my lecturer,
Yeah.
but a lot of the directing and shooting stuff, it was like, yo, guys, we have to figure it out together, and not that I'm taking credit away from people I've worked with, but
Yeah.
we've had to learn together, you know. So I wouldn't say I've met. I think I'm still fairly new as well. I've been doing it for a while, but I feel like I'm still auditioning for that job, you know, where I meet the good directors, like spend a couple of years learning from him and, you know, kind of just like growing into a bigger idea of what a film space and cinematography is.
Can I then ask, of all the projects that you've done, whether it's music videos or commercial or brand work, what if hopefully there's a list, which projects have kind of like pushed you the most creatively?
Push me in what sense?
Creatively, like where you had an idea in mind or way in which you wanted to approach something, but either come the time or come the day actually, and you find yourself having to dig deeper inside of yourself, whether it's lessons you've learned in the past or like you say, leaning into other people, but somewhere where you're like, this was not easy, even if it came out amazing at the end.
Well, the latest, not that I'm trying to be cheesy, but like, the latest video I shot, Pangbonile, I think that video was a real challenge. Like, it came out nice, but I think it was a big challenge, and it was a big shift for me. You know, it was the first time I actually like experimented with having a full storyline from beginning to end. And you know, there were challenges. You know, it pushed me creatively because like I wanted to get a reaction out of it. You know, I feel like we have this strong gravitational pull towards comfort in our creative industry. Kind of what, you know, like pictures should feel like, how they should be conveyed, and how things should be shot, and how things should look in comparison to how they sound, you know. So that video for me was kind of me just doing the opposite and kind of getting into the idea of, you know, I'm doing this for a reason and it's open for interpretation. And, you know, the longer you interpret, the more you might understand. And unfortunately, if you can't understand, you know, I can't hold you and I can't hate you. And it's one of those, you know. And it was one of literally the first times I actually heard people like, you know, really being like, yo, what are you on? Like, what are you trying to do here? Like, and then for me, it was an interesting thing to see because it's like everyone always claps, so they're not clapping this time. They're asking questions like, "What did you do here? Like, why would you do this?" And I mean, it's, you know, everyone wants to have like some sort of, well, for a filmmaker, maybe you want to have some sort of journey throughout your work. You know, you don't want your stuff to flatten out, plateau. You know, you want to
position,
you know, you need to evoke emotions, and I think I really evoked emotions, you know, through my creative aspect on that video.
That's dope, man. That's dope. One of my favorite videos is Malenje.
Oh yeah, that's dope.
Oh my god.
Okay, like that video, that's a good video, man. That was Stunner storyline. Beautiful storyline. You see, like that was one of the moments where I was listening. You understand? And I think that's the beauty of why that video came out like that, is because we were listening like, to each other, and I was listening to what he wanted, and he was listening to what I wanted. You know? And yeah, like it came out really, really, really dope. I wanted to do it in color, but I think like the black and white just.
What made that decision? What made you go black and white?
It just it killed, like, kind of like, it stopped making it too much about like the environment, and it kind of closed in on the idea that it's a story that you're watching, you know. So I mean, you know, when you're shooting on location and you're shooting like a run and gun video, you don't have much control of your environment, the color schemes and everything, and that can become distracting, you know, if there's too much going on. So that black and white really made it like so you need to focus on the story, you need to focus on these shots, man. I think it was like That was a boundary pusher.
Yeah, that was like from the beginning, like from the opening shot. And then there's a part where in the video, when it's when it's young Stan's verse, actually just before his verse, but with the, I don't know if it's a snorri cam on his back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was like,
And I just like, I went to hire my gear and I just saw the snorri cam and I was like,
yeah,
is this like, are you guys renting this out? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, yo, let's try it out.
yeah.
And we just kind of took it and became spontaneous about it.
Ah, shout out to you. That shot, because you usually, m- more accustomed to seeing the snorri cam from the
From the
front.
front, yeah.
Doing it from the back and with that specific scene, I was like, that's
Because
dope,
we also
that's
had to
fire.
kind of like make it kind of like graphic, you know, like the violent scenes. So kind of like it also hides it well, you know, but it still gives you the movement and how the action would look, you know, like, so without showing too much of the actual person not getting hit because it's fake.
Yeah,
It's fake, you know, like, come on.
And how long did you guys shoot that in? Like a day, 2 days?
That was a day.
It was a day.
Yeah, that was a day from like maybe 1 p.m. till like 10 p.m.
Really?
Yeah, what time did we finish? Maybe 11 was the latest time we finished. Didn't take us much. The
Damn.
edit took quite some time though.
Really? How long?
Like 4 days maybe. But like I was editing that video, like I was sleeping and editing. I was sleeping, waking up and editing like that video like every day.
Why? Can I just ask is what is up with these turnaround times, man? It can't just be people not
bro,
being
it's-
organized enough.
I mean, like, what can I say, bro? Like, bro, this like it's quick, bro. That thing is like, I just feel like also we've been accustomed to this thing that we don't have time, bro. We don't have the time that like we're not in that period of time anymore. And as much as I want more time, I appreciate the amount of time I have. You understand? And that allows me to kind of come out with the work that I have as well, you know? Yeah, maybe you could have given me 2 more weeks, bro. I don't know what is gonna happen in 2 weeks, and I don't even wanna know. You understand? Like, at the end of the day, if a client need is, I need this video in 2 days. If you're not the guy for the job, you know, someone else is gonna come and do the job, you know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of economy we live in, you know? That's the creative economy, unfortunately. It's fortunate, unfortunate, I can't tell you, but I can say that, you know, like, if I have to take the role, I'm always willing to take the role, you know, especially if it brings value to it. Imalenja is a really good video, you know, that I do believe that, you know, over time will keep growing on someone out there, you know, and there's no amount of days I can give you to, you know, to buy that feeling or to, you know what I'm saying? So I guess I still bank on that as much as, you know, this thing is still a job and everything. It's like, I'm a young creative, bro. And, you know, at the end of the day, if I can do it, I gotta do it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like in 10 years, I would like tell you 2 days is impossible. But for now, you know, if I get the call and I gotta wear the Cinderella shoe, man, I'm out here. Out here,
It's
promise
dope,
you.
man. That's dope. And you're right, because it is something where it's like maybe with time, this is something I'll start
We'll get
maybe
better.
being
Like
concerned about.
we're in a very, like, I wouldn't say bad industry, but we're not in that industry where like we can just have it too easy like that, you know. And I get it. It's tough, and it's not. I'm not saying it's something that should be forever. But you know, like I was saying in the beginning, like we kind of like the guys that are gonna like start this thing. I mean, 10 years is still fairly new for something like this, like a music catalog or a music space, or, you know, maybe for some of the more commercial work, the turnaround times are better because it's something that's been traditionally done throughout of time. But this, it's been done, but you know, like the scale changes over time, you know, and not that I'm better than the guys who were shooting in 2016, but you know, like the things are just different. You know, we approach things different as they approached. So yeah.
That's dope, man. You know, also speaking of that, you mentioned earlier on when I was asking about race, and you're like, do you know where we're going? Where are we going?
Uh where am I going?
Yes. What's the vision? Where does Nico, where does Optical Illusion see himself in the, you said 10 years is a short time. Okay, in 15, 20 years.
I think,
Because you're obviously building something.
yeah, I think, the more like further away is harder to tell, but the closer for me is, I think my main focus for me is just, becoming, or rather building more production value in what I'm doing. That's my main focus at this current point, is literally creating a space for me and all my team members to be able to do this thing and shoot and be able to go into spaces and create with confidence, and not feel like we don't know enough. That's my kind of specific point in current time right now, is that we need to, I'm trying to get to a point where I enforce ideas that I wouldn't have approached because I believed they need you to be at a certain place. That's where I am, and I'm just at a place where I want, like I'm saying, I want to build production value, like for me and my team members. And to me, that just simply means like us being more comfortable, more free, like when we're doing this thing. Music videos are still tense and hard, but I'm like trying to literally be able to do a brand campaign, and we should feel like it's the same way we feel about it as a music video,
Yeah.
So that production value kind of does mean that I'm not trying to like get into it as much as, like I'm saying, music videos are tough, but I wouldn't like to engage with every single challenge that comes my way. I do believe that we sometimes, like, we need to focus on like our well-being, and that's where I am. Like, I'm specifically at my well-being, bro. That's, I want to gravitate more and more towards shooting and how it makes me feel. And it's not necessarily about projects. Projects don't matter to me, bro. Like, I didn't consider that I could be shooting Shala when I started shooting. I didn't consider I could be shooting Stunner, I just always considered that I'd be shooting something I love shooting, something that's dope, and that's where I still believe I'm going, towards something that's dope, but now that feels amazing to do as well. I don't want to feel like I'm forced to shoot, I want to start being in an environment where, that I enjoy it more and more and more and more. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but I feel like there's more to enjoy, There's more.
Constantly stimulated. You spoke earlier on about we have a, you didn't say call it a problem, but we do have a problem of complacency in our industry, where you get comfortable with where you are, and there's never that hunger to either want to do better or present better. And I want to ask, you spoke earlier that your the role Pulp Fiction had in like your entire career, but also I'm assuming your style to some degree. What other inspirations do you have, especially within the world of music, local or international? And I'm talking whether you're looking at an artist and their catalog, or you're looking specifically at a director.
Okay.
What other influences you?
So even like, look, I do believe, like, and this might be biased, but because I'm sitting with like, guys, I'm sitting in a room full of filmmakers. So look, I do believe the film industry in South Africa is highly saturated, and I do believe that how I approach my work is that I'm just starting off the question with giving you more contextual, liaison. I shoot music videos how I would shoot a story, or how I think I would prefer to shoot a movie. Like, I just do believe I wouldn't have been here to have this conversation with you had I chosen to specifically shoot music videos, had shoot films, had I gone straight out of school into the film space. The film space is tough, bro. And a lot of it, what made me go away from it was just fears. It's tough, but I haven't experienced much of that toughness. I tried to be unconventional. I chose an unconventional approach. it still takes as much time. I believe like it's still going to take me as much time as it would take someone on an actual film set to get where they want to go. But I think in all of that, I'm still inspired by film directors, even for music videos. You understand? Even how I experience music in shooting it and all of that. So, like, currently, we were talking about it, but like my favorite director currently is Zintuli. And I just do think the South African guys are doing it right now in the space, a lot of like outside guys have always been doing it, and we've always been exposed to something that's so far away. But it's so beautiful to see people bringing talent closer and closer and closer.
Yeah.
Because it makes it so much more accessible. We're the new generation. I'm the new generation, and I'm happy to see like your Zintuli, your Frosana. I'm happy to see the guys like shooting such stuff that I thought like you can only shoot after 15 years because that means you're closing the time for us.
Yeah.
The same way I'm closing the time for some kid who's going to come shoot music videos, It's like that, You give and you take, and eventually you learn along the way. So I do still like love a lot of Christopher Nolan stuff. I mean, that's a niche answer. Everyone loves Chris Nolan, but yeah, and I'm just like a guy who heavily rewatches stuff, I think like directors inspire me based on where I am, and it's projectile. It happens monthly or 2 monthly. Every time I rediscover something, I don't hang on something for too long. So I do try also reflect what I'm watching currently and what I'm doing. So I just apply it. And I think that way you don't run out of ideas, Draw inspiration from what you like in the present moment and somehow try to keep injecting it into where you're going. And that way you're living your inspiration in real time, and you don't ever have to bank on saving ideas. You don't ever have to bank on, I'll do it in the future. Do what you're living through now. Like if you get a proposal to shoot something, even if it's unrelated, look at the characters in there, So for Chris Nolan, like it's always good because you can break down the psychological aspects and approach of how they shoot their movies. They make it cryptic, like they want to hide stuff in the films. They want to hide stuff in the messages. So it's not just about copying the camera, copying the picture, but it's about copying the director's approach to conveying a message, which is literally the end goal of any production.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope, man. That's really, really dope, and it's good to hear you speak like that about how you create. A lot of people tend to not have that much intention behind how they approach their films or even their videos. But you mentioned to the wrong person, films. If you know anything about me, I am absolutely a nerd about South African films, but specifically South
You
African
need to
films.
give me a few.
I will.
You need to give me a list, bro. Like a couple of lists, please.
But before I do, I want to hear your top. Let's make it 3. 5 is too long. Top 3 favorite South African films.
My favorite South African movie is Tsotsi. Yes, it's Tsotsi. I've seen Tsotsi in 4K. It's a masterpiece, bro. I've seen it in 4K. And my second closest competitor would be... There can't be a niche one for this one. Have you seen the Angus? He was a pastor. He made a film, Fate Like Potatoes. That is my second favorite South African movie.
Angus Buchan.
Yes, Angus Buchan is like, you see what I'm saying? So the third...
when did you watch that one?
I was like 16, I think, or 15 or 14. Yeah. It's a long time. But
fun fact, they shot it where I'm from. I'm from Greytown.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful movie, bro.
It is.
And, it's not just about cars and other stuff and cool stuff. And then one for the sci-fi, you know, because I've been recently really into sci-fi, and you know, I think South Africa needs that form of aspect. That, hence, I also do like Zintuli a lot, is because he's bringing a lot of like unconventional things. You're seeing lasers, you're seeing high light emulsions, you know, like the whole sci-fi thing kind of excites me. But okay, it can't be my number three. I know you know what I'm thinking, but it
I
can't be
know
my,
exactly what you're
it can't be my number
thinking. Why
three.
not?
It can't be.
Yeah.
It's a good one, but
Yeah. Okay.
because I was trying to give you like a nice variation, you know, but let's put it there. Let's put District 9.
Alright, man.
It's a good movie, guys. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it
But
is. It's
my
really.
variation is also based on like um how different they are, you know,
Yeah.
and how well they perform still when you put them together, you know. So that's what I'm trying to translate about myself, is that it's not always, you know, it's not about because it's robots, or because it's about potatoes, or because it's about iskebengu, but it's well done, you know. And that is what I really gravitate towards when I watch a film. Is like, oh, this is really well done. I can get that there's a, a heart in it, or someone feels a certain way about it, but my specific assessment is always highly based on how it starts and how it finishes, how they got, like, do they maintain? And I feel like in those three films, the beats maintained. You know what I'm saying? It's solid, it's consistent. Tsotsi has the visual identity from the first shot to the last shot, my brother. Fate Like Potatoes is, you feel it from the beginning
From
to the end. And, you know, District is an alien movie in the hood, like from beginning to end, you know. And I do feel like I could have better answers, you know, but at this current point in time and where I am, that's how well I've assessed, you know, kind of what production value to also be.
Those are fantastic answers, regardless, man. Like, I mean, Tsotsi is
I chose
arguably.
blockbusters though. Like,
I
I
mean,
mean, I told you I'm a blockbuster guy, guys. I like Michael Bay, guys. Like,
no, absolutely, man. Like, Tsotsi is regarded one of the greatest South African, if not the greatest South African film of all time, for a reason. What, District 9, man? Had we ever seen anything like District 9 before it
since,
came out, man? We hadn't,
yeah,
you
you
know.
know.
And
Also
it's
the picture, you know, how like it's gruesome.
yeah,
Like,
bro.
you know, the scene in the restaurant where it's just like, you know, that's like, wow, okay, we can do that. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Let's still on production value, and you know, just the level of execution. The color in your work is so good, man. You know, speaking earlier on a little bit about color and your relationship to it. Can you just tell me more also, like, what do you want people to feel when they watch your
My stuff.
work, specifically from a color perspective? Because there's
Color
a lot of
perspective.
intention there. Like, you can tell, even with Imalenja, that's not a stock or standard black and white, you know.
So you're asking me to give away my secrets, man. It's fine. It's not really my secret. But I think my relationship with color also boils down from how stocks work. You know, like you have your Kodak stocks, you know, and my first approach towards color is I love film stock, bro. And if I could afford to shoot film, bro, I promise you.
Do you do film photography?
Yeah, I do.
Shout out.
I do
Shout out.
film
What
photography.
camera do you have?
I have a medium format
Ooh.
GX45, like a Fuji film. It's a nice
Shout
one.
out.
I'll show you. It's
Shout
a
out.
nice
Shout
one.
out.
That one, it's a nice one. But yeah, I think look, color for me has always been very interesting in the sense that I always wondered why like grading is really different from what we see, you know, in our eyes. And how films can look different from the natural eye, but still look real, you know. So in my approach to color is that you're kind of like painting over a very stale image, you know? And sometimes emotion comes from a stale image, but sometimes emotion comes from different types of strokes. And those film stocks have, I feel, different intention, you know, for me. Like, your daylight. So I grade based off, film stocks. Like I take a 250 and I'll emulate it off that and I'll change it. And so for me, like I really just want people to like, I don't know how to describe the feeling that I would like. It should feel subconscious. That's my intention with color. It should. It's very good when you don't watch for it as a viewer. Obviously as a colorist, I watch for color, but viewers experience color in a very euphoric way when they don't notice it. And I love the idea that film can play on something so cryptic. Color is very cryptic for me. Like as much as people notice it now, because I feel like it's an emerging thing. It's an emerging like kind of industry that's still growing for a lot of people who are interested in it. But it's because I promote it that people notice it. But like a lot of the movies I promise that you love is because the color was able to tell you exactly where you were and exactly what to feel when you couldn't comprehend the dialogue and you couldn't understand some of the words that they were saying. You understand? Because um, it's a matter of comprehension, and color creates so much comprehension in film and in anything that you're watching. It instantly changes. If the blues a certain way, it's the day looks like, oh wow, today is so fresh.
Yeah.
What a refreshing day this guy is living in, you understand?
Yeah.
But if it's like dark, then it's okay. It's we have to. So that's my relationship with color. I just wanted it. I wanted over time to become like kind of like a subconscious thing that people feel. And as much as it's my identity, I do believe that it's just kind of one of the few steps that I'm still learning about film. And I do still want to have a better understanding of color, and not just the color science stuff like blue makes you feel safe, green makes you feel, but actually I would love to have an understanding of how like our anatomy actually reads color, and and a mathematical understanding of it, because I do believe it's a very big part of film. And even in our country, I do believe we could use with a more handful of colorists, that can comprehend on a large scale like that, that can be handed an hour film or 2 hour film, and they can bring a real thing to life, like so
That's dope, man. Actually,
don't you think like some of the films, we're not naming anything, but
Yeah.
don't you think some of the films that you watch from the first picture, you lose your passion because it looks,
yeah,
you know,
it plays a huge role. Like the reason why most of even the films, at least for me in my childhood, are like seared into my brain is because of how just distinct they looked without making me like once again just
Yeah.
fixate on the color.
Yes, you see what I'm
Right?
saying?
I
But
never first time I ever watched The Matrix, I never noticed the green, but I felt
felt
it.
it exactly.
You
You
know,
understand? And
yeah.
if you say the Matrix, automatically you feel green. You know what I'm saying? So, but it was a subconscious thing experiencing it at first. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah. No, that's dope, man. That's really, really dope. We've gotten to the part of the podcast where we play a little bit of a game. It's
yeah.
a very simple game. We just have to choose one of two options. And it has to do with the artists you have mostly worked with and the field in which you've worked with the most, which is Amapiano. We're going to start off with round one, which is the Queens of the Dicks. And the options you have are Uncle Waffles or Deben Koko. Who are you going for?
I gotta go with Dylan Gogo. She's the OG, man. But shout out Waffles. That's my girl. That's my lady. Shout out Waffles. Shout out Waffles. Yeah, we just did a mix. Shout out Waffles. She's been very like supportive.
Yeah.
Both have been very supportive.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I understand now why you wanted to do the.
She's the OG. I had to give her the proper keys,
Yeah, yeah. Round two, the architects of Amapiano, and your options are Kabza de Small and DJ Maporis.
Well, I mean both. But if I say like architect I think they serve different roles. But both, like, I'd say maybe like Pori found Kabza. So I don't know, guys.
Yeah.
I just feel like I met those guys both at the same window, and they've been both as impactful, in terms of pushing the sound and moving the genre to the stages it's reached in the world, man.
Yeah.
But I like Tereki Bulu, it's hey man, my Dumani is too cool, bro. Look, my shout out Kaiser too as well, I think my Dumani is super cool, for
Yeah.
what he's doing with the 15 Kushe shares. Come on, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like,
Culture.
come on, bro.
That's dope. All right. And then round 3 is voice of the streets. Yeah. Focalistic or Youngstana? Yeah.
That's tricky. That's tricky. In terms of like, I'd say like also they kind of different, They both definitely the voice of the street. Like Foka being one of the guys that is not just like, being a vocalist, but he's still like pushing sound out of his hood, he's pushing the sound out of his kasi. So he's a good voice for the streets as well, and I don't think there's one above the other in as per se, but I do think Stana is a good voice for the streets as well in terms of his musical ability and in terms of someone to represent the sound as a vocalist. He's always had a way of delivering a very powerful message through his words, So for this one, creatively, like musically, and like I do think, who can we say? I do think, man, I just know Stana better, guys. So I'm gonna say Stana. It would be
Yeah.
biased of me not to.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah.
biased of me to say,
To say so,
but
yeah.
his
No, listen.
impact is great.
It's the matchups here are pretty strong in any case. So whichever direction you end up going in, it's like Messi versus Ronaldo. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you know
whichever
what
way
I'm
you go,
saying.
bro.
Yeah,
Like- and then street heat energy. And the options we have are Scott's Mapuma or Mellow and Sleazy. Street heat energy. Round 5.
but okay, Melo and Sleazy Melo and Sleazy, they're not vocalists, but they are Melo and Sleazy. Scott's, yes, he's he's very hard in the streets, but Melo and Sleazy on the streets, bro. Like, because I mean, you need to know, like, piano is heavily based on the instrumental. You understand? And I do think Scott's is like very dominant when it comes to like hype songs and stuff like that. But Mill and Sleazy, like, they make the beats, so I gotta go with them simply because that's where the source begins. So I gotta give it to Mill and Sleazy for that one. Yo, there is someone. I'm gonna give you a perfect answer. I would love to shoot Amifaku. I would definitely love to shoot Amifaku. Like, Amifaku, if you see this, please. Like, I think her way of singing and her way of projection is really like different, really intricate. And I think she has a certain amount of like, what can I say? Like, she has a certain amount of presence that I feel like is very strong for a singer, and someone of her stature. Not that she should be less stronger, but simply I just do believe she carries a good amount of weight that I would love to shoot and, work with her. I would love to shoot her. I would love to work with her and kind of like understand her process and her journey and, how she got to where she got.
Yeah, then the universe and seeing how life goes and how this year is going specifically, I have no doubt by the end of this year something would have happened. Yeah, I'm putting it out there for you,
Thank
my
you,
brother. I
brother.
really want to see
Nah,
that.
it's gonna
Actually.
happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Best
yeah.
believe it's gonna happen.
Just one last one and just one last one there. So Nqanawe, and this is for young filmmakers that are coming after you. The ones that are still coming up, the other time gear is just massive and so forth. But yeah, what's the one advice that you give these young filmmakers? You know what I'm saying? And then just to add on to that, a question as well. What's the misconception that people have about Amapiano artists?
Okay, so to give you just a broad assessment of what it's like to be a road shooter, it's first of all, like equipment matters very little in a spectrum of creation, and you learn that very quickly. Is because you need to move very lightly. You know, you can't carry heavy gear, heavy machinery because obviously you need to travel very quickly, and gear is sensitive, so you want to keep most of your arsenal at home and keep on you what you need. And the times are crazy, it's a crazy industry that you kind of just like you have to adapt to an artist's lifestyle, and it kind of needs someone who's like you need to have the kind of dedication to want to go into the space. Like you can't be half in, and it takes up it's very consummate, as young consumers come up, maybe they don't realize that, it's something that, you have to realize it's a day job. It's not just something that's fun and games. And what I do think is misconceptualized about everything is just that it's not much of a misconceptualization, but I do believe that like just like never forget that like you're a creator, but as a creator, like you need to create and obviously create stuff that essentially builds towards where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
You understand? So the misconception I think that happens between most shooters and most artists, or most artists, most shooters, and all of that. It's just that you just need to have a clear direction of what you want to map out for yourself and what you're trying to do for the artist. You understand? When I met Stana and I met other artists, I always had a plan of what I wanted it to look like, as much as obviously they also have a plan. And the most important thing at the end of the day is just to meet the deliverables. I don't think it's the most requiring job in the world. I do think it's just a very like high mental job. You just have to stay strong, be willing to travel, be open to meeting new people, and you need to stay on par with the times. You move in real time, So another thing is just, like if you're in a space right now where everybody is just doing something, where everybody's just throwing stuff around, and that is the economy. You need to learn to adapt. So I'm not per se saying it's the best or the worst. It just operates a certain way, and you need to be open to adaptation. You need to be free as well. Like you need to be free minded. I do believe it's something that can be done by someone who's open minded. Um, a schedule doesn't always mean your life is going to be perfect. So you need to get real and forget about, always having things to plan, And it kind of teaches something in you that you don't always learn from, other spaces.
Yeah.
You learn to be quick, you learn to adapt, you learn to uh what can I say? You learn to think on the spot. That's what that space has taught me. It's like it's a beautiful and mm, melancholic journey, just for yourself as a creator, as to say, I think you need to be hardest on yourself, like when you're on the road, like in terms of if you want to grow and compete,
Yeah.
because road work also, it's kind of like you have to make sure that your client enters a certain standard, of media. So you need to have a certain type of confidence, and you need to have competence. I mean, like a certain type of competence, and you need to have a certain type of confidence, of course, in your work, So
And almost a competitive edge.
yeah,
even.
like just like don't it's like don't try and decode the matrix. You know, it's something you live and you learn. You go on the road, you learn experiences. If you've never been to Japan, you on the road going to Japan, like you can't decode that. You can't say, no, I know this thing. No, you have to be very open-minded. Be open to learning, be open to seeing, you know what I'm saying? And be open to being away for a certain amount of time, you know? Um, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful feeling to be somewhere and to feel like, you know, like, yo, man, things are so different here. I'm 22 hours away from home and I'm here for the next 4 to 5 weeks, just banking on these photos and videos. And, you know, like for a creative, you know, spectrum is not that large. I'm not a doctor and I'm not saving lives. So sometimes it is difficult to feel like what you're doing is important, but you need to always bank on having a sense of self-value, you know, value what you do, you know, and gravitate towards learning all those lessons and appreciating everything that happens while you're on the road.
Man, yeah, we could talk forever, you and I, and it's been such a fantastic conversation, dog. And I still have a bunch of other questions just from other stuff you mentioned, but we do have to wrap up. But before we wrap up, I have a question I want to ask. You did have an incident like recently. You know, the safety of photographers and videographers is extremely crucial, especially when you're on the road. And you had an incident with your camera where you know an artist left with it. Can you take us through that, Jay? How did that come to be? What was the experience like, and the lengths you had to go to?
Well, like I just feel like that incident specifically is a reflection of just simply me being naive, if I'm being honest with you. And when I sit and I reflect on the incident, it's like why am I not being considerate of my own safety? You understand? And that's what I also say creatives should focus on. Like as a young creative, focus on your personal security, you know, and personal security means not just that or things can go wrong, but that just means like it's part of your well-being, you know, security is part of well-being. And those situations just reflect that, you know, as creators, as much as we can get tied in stuff, you know, because that situation for me is very specific to something else. But at the end of the day, I have to own up to being responsible and secure for myself. And that's what a lot of people, I think, also need to reflect on is that at the end of the day, um, you need to make sure you're okay. You need to make sure you're safe. You need to make sure you operate in a healthy environment, and you need to make sure you you do the best for yourself. And those are things you create for yourself, you know. Those are things you address for yourself, you know. And that's what I'm saying. People shouldn't shy away from making decisions, shouldn't shy away from being open, you know, to say, I wanna take my security safely, you know. So I do think my rush and my drive and all of just being so buzzy about everything has, like said, taught me a lesson. You know what I'm saying? Those are lessons that I learned in school. Like security for these type of things, they're high value stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's why how I finally read the situation is at the end of the day, you understand like you have to uh if you're a photographer, you're a business, you have security and protection for your business. Doesn't mean you have to go or walk around with physical people or anything.
Yeah,
But it just goes to say that you must
take care of your assets.
you
yeah.
must take care of your assets, take care of yourself, you know. And it's obviously like we take it for granted. You know, I took it for granted. We all take it for granted. It's something you don't acknowledge till, of course, you have to acknowledge. But yeah, that's what I can say to a creative. If you're creative, you don't want to be in like similar situation to ours, just take care of yourself. Like be the type of person that sits and thinks, if I do this, what will happen?
Yeah.
You understand? And I feel like we don't make a lot of those assessments as creatives.
Yeah. No, I get you, man. I think more than anything else in this conversation, what I've appreciated is your honesty and just being forthcoming about a lot of things. Most people tend to, want to embellish or appear a specific type of way, especially when in front of cameras. So I appreciate how frank you've been, because ultimately it does a disservice if you're not as honest as you can be to what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, the people watching this need to learn game from you, you know what I'm saying? Brother, it's been great speaking to you, dog. Your work is amazing. I am excited to see what you still have to offer. I'm excited for the rest of your career. I'm excited for when you finally decide to dabble in films and what you have to offer.
Guys, if you want DOP for your next film, hit me up, guys.
Okay, thank you. I'm hitting you up right now.
If you have a script, hit me up. Anything related to film, hit me up, guys. And yeah, shout out to you, shout out to Black Art, shout out to the podcast. This is a personal first experience for me. I hope I spoke well and I hope I spoke informatively. And I've learned a lot from shooting, and I think it's given me more than I could ever be grateful for. And hence, I do believe that at the end of the day, just be grateful, guys. And, don't forget to say a prayer before you sleep. And it's all God's grace at the end of the day, God showed me mercy as a kid from Limpopo, as a kid from Kiani, allowing me to come into spaces and meet different creative people. And it's all part of his plan. I'm fully grateful.
Shout outs, man. Shout outs, man. All the best on your journey, dog. Blessings. Before we close off, my brother, hey, I almost forgot something very important. We have a little gift.
Oh, yeah?
Black Art.
Thank
In
you.
association with Brazen Black, my brother, a little goodie bag nyana for you, something to
Should
go
I open
home
it?
with. You can open it at home. It's up to
Hey,
you.
open it. Hey, man. Get to the sporty, sako setting. You need to understand. You understand? This sporty, I'm going to wear it when I finish my second move.
Shout outs.
I just finished my first one, the second one.
Dope, man. Thank you very much, man. And thank you to everybody who tuned in to Black Art in association with Brazen Black. My name is Nqanawe Shangase. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. And until next time, stay African, stay fearless, and stay unapologetic. Salute, BBAFF'ies.